Hello, everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator, hello, everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. Guys, a long time no video. It's been quite a while, I feel like. I think it was Thursday night, the last time I made a video public. So just taking a little break. And I think it's like because there's so much going on at all times that sometimes it's just hard to process everything. And sometimes I get information that is so detailed that it just feels like I just need to process it. And so, speaking of processing, so for now, I've decided that I'm going to do shorter videos that are about one subject, okay? So that I don't have to wait for other things to drop. I know I'm behind on several subjects, but I wanted to talk to you about to make this one episode right now about the stock market and what I'm picking up. Okay. So I made a lot of detailed notes actually. Okay, so let me just get started with this. So, but let's do the protection. I like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as a breathe in. I feel my lungs as a breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that I create the good and only the good and so it is. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So today is Sunday, October 12th, right? And on Friday, this was the 10th. I think in the afternoon, Trump made a statement about China saying that he's going to do another tariff on China. And as a result of this statement that he made, there was a kind of like a mini crash in the stock market. And that's what I want to talk about today because there's a lot of things happening. And I told you guys I worked at Morgan Stanley and I've got a very low level job long time ago, but I'm interested in finance and for many reasons. So even though I said I was going to create a new channel for it, which I might for other things, but I feel like more and more this has become it's like a parallel thing, right? What's going on with Trump, the market manipulation, and uh, and then their goals. Okay, so let's talk about it. So then Trump makes this statement, and a lot of stocks crash. So I'm going to break it down into lots of different mini topics within this topic. But before I do that, let me tell you, okay, before and I don't want you to get scared because a lot of times I make statements about the economy and people just will get scared. Don't get scared, okay? I just have it's one of those ones where I feel like I have to tell you about this stuff, okay? So I talked to Corina today. I reached out to her because I said I'm just picking up something about um kind of like a crash on the speculative assets like crypto, the AI bubble, the AI and Bitcoin connected companies. And by that, I know some people will say, but Rosie, I use AI, I use ChatGPT. That's not what I'm talking about. It's two different things. It's about, it has to, something is like here. Okay. There's a overvaluation on stocks that are not even AI, but they just claim to be. A lot of companies just say they are AI when they're not even nearly involved in it as much as they should be. There's a lot of meme stocks. I'm talking about the public market. ChatGPT is the company that owns it is a private company. So we're not even talking about that. But there is something going on also in some of these private companies where there's something happening called circular financing. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But but I want to tell you this, that I am seeing that there's going to be something like this. But I don't think you should really worry about it because this is not like the housing market. This is about assets that many people have, let's say not people, a lot of his institutions and some retail gambling, like in younger people that are into gambling. They see the stock market as a form of gambling. They get into this, and it's basically that's what I'm talking about here. So I feel like for some reason, and I'm not the only one, you can look up a lot of videos on, from the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, serious people in finance. Um, there's a lot of signs that a bubble is about to pop, that we are in a bubble of sorts connected to the speculative market. So I feel like the research that I've been doing, guys, really, to me, it's about the fact that Trump is like the core of this administration of his, the second one. It's yes, it's about cruelty and all these things he's doing to the world and to people, but fundamentally for him, it's about market manipulation and fraud, because that's what he has been all about, has always been about, right? So we're seeing these now that we're starting to see even the manipulators, like people who are into crypto, who I'm sorry to say, I know some people use it, but it's mostly, I think, fraud. Even they are complaining about Trump because Trump is out frauding them, right? So so let's get into this. Okay, let me just so this is what I wanted to tell you about what I'm picking up. So I'm just like I said, this is I gave enough information here what I think will happen. But let me give you some context here. Okay, where okay, da, da, da. Okay. So this will okay. So crypto anger as speculators claim insider trading Trump crash. Timing of investors' short position raises questions over whether they had inside information. So what happens is Trump makes the statement about China, but like half an hour before, there was a new account that was created in some brokerage that shorted, in other words, bet on the demise of something, bet on the demise of, I think, uh, Bitcoin. Oh, okay. So cryptocurrency crash triggered by Donald Trump's threat of 100% tariffs on China has unleashed fresh claims of insider trading. There is growing anger among crypto investors after reports claimed that an anonymous investor made up to 200 million by betting that the world's two biggest digital currencies would fall. It has been alleged that the trader lodged their so-called short position in Bitcoin and Ether around 30 minutes before the US president announced plans to levy fresh tariffs on China. So something that happens, and this is, you probably know this, but it's just a reminder that a lot of traders make money from volatility. The most sophisticated people on Wall Street, they don't buy stocks. They don't just short. They play with the differences between the cheapest and the high, like the difference in prices, right? It's more advanced. And this is not for, the regular person on the street who believes whatever, something they read on the internet or something, right? It's very sophisticated. So we have this, and we have this person, whoever they are, knew this. Clearly it was timed. And I have come to believe I'm not the only one, that all these statements that Trump makes and then he undoes them, right? He creates volatility in the market. And I think there's a relationship, and this is, I'll tell you another time. So the stock market is made up of stocks and bonds, right? Pretty much. And so there's also you, well, long story. There's currency. There's like you could like the long story, but pretty much just say basically stocks and bonds. So I'm seeing a lot of activity in the bond market. The bond market is called fixed income, and it's not very accessible to people who are not institutional. Okay, so to me, there is something going on here. And fixed income is about borrowing, essentially, is about companies selling their debt and the debt being traded, and financial instruments being created on top of this debt. I think there is a lot of weird stuff going on in the bond market that I think is related to Trump and his people and the whole crypto thing. It's a long story to go into the details of it. Like I talked about it before. But the point is, now we're seeing this volatility, and Trump says something, somebody makes money, and there's all this like, Russians are involved in cryptocurrency and all of it. So, so let me go back here to this. Um, how are we going to, so just one second. So, so then let's go back here to this. I know this may be a little bit complicated relative to other things I talk about, but I think it's important. Okay, so this is something that I have to talk to you about a bit slowly, but I think it's so important. I've talked about how Trump's policies are designed seemingly on purpose to destroy the economy. I think the same thing is happening in the stock market. And so he's creating this mega volatility. A lot of people, his friends, are probably making money from this because they have the information ahead of everybody else. And when you look at all this tariffs, all this stuff, it's pushing. There's this froth, this hyper growth on the very top of the market, and there's all these meme stocks. So you have to remember, like I want you guys to think about this. The Peter Thiel, I want to talk about this. Peter Thiel has a history of betting against the American economy. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you the receipts in a little bit. So, okay. So, so this is a situation. I think because the whole plan of all the cryptocurrencies, and if you want to learn more about it, you should read a book called "The Sovereign Citizen." It's basically a sci-fi, far right, quasi-economic book about a future in which there is no nations and there's only digital currencies, and the world is divided but by those who understand the digital world and everybody else. And everybody else becomes like the people who are not like that, they become like the Middle Ages. Okay, that's pretty clear what they're moving towards. This was fiction, but they're making it, they're trying to turn this into a reality. I don't think this is going to happen, but you have to learn more about this. Okay, so when we see what's happening, I think that they are preparing to crash the stock market on purpose so that everything is going to go down in price. There like what happened in the financial crisis. A lot of people criticized the government for bailing out the banks, but there was a point to it because if the banks hadn't been bailed out, the crisis would have spread even more. Okay. And I think what they want is to create something similar, except this time there will be no rescue. And there will be no rescue to the people who have been conned by them either. Okay. But this is the plan, but it's not going to work. Okay. It's not going to work. But let me tell you, so this is the point that I want you to make. Like it will be scary when you see these things happening, and I think we're going to move into a more dangerous territory. But I think it's going to be stopped alongside Trump and his crew. Why? Okay, why? Because I had the vision of people, several important Wall Street people moving in and stopping it. Okay, but not just them, but the whole dynamic and the whole like momentum is starting to turn against them. And this is the thing that I want you to talk about, that I want you to think about and to know ahead of time. Because like I said, it's going to be scary, but it's going to be okay eventually once we're out of this. Okay. But let me now talk to you about, show you the history of uh, Peter Thiel. Um, I'll show you the receipts. Peter Thiel batting against the US economy. Now, the story starts with when Peter Thiel, um, he was part of what became PayPal. Okay, so PayPal, and he, by the way, people say, oh, I don't want to use PayPal because of them, but they haven't been associated with PayPal since the early aughts, so it's no longer really connected to them. But let me find it here. Okay. So the story about PayPal is that this company, there was two companies that they were merged. One was called Confinity, and the other was actually X.com that was owned by Elon Musk. Okay, so they merged, and they raised an investment of 1999 of 100 million for Series C. Now, private investment, private companies, that's how they are structured, but until they go public. So what happened is let me read this to you. Okay, so it did not take long for the company before rebranding as Confinity to collide with rival firm X.com, run by a brash South African entrepreneur named Elon Musk. Rather than burn through their capital in an extended war, Confinity and X.com agreed to join forces. They named the combined company after Confinity's most popular feature, which connected email addresses to payments, PayPal. The merger not only meant annealing two opinionated management teams, but welcoming the other party's investors. Mike Moritz from Sequoia Capital, who had invested in Musk's X.com, suddenly had to wrangle with a new cadre of awkward geniuses. The first indication that Thiel and Mike Moritz were marriage of strained convenience arrived on the back of the merger. The same day the companies announced their partnership to the press on March 30th, 2000, they shared the news of a $100 million Series C. Thiel had been critical in pushing the round to a definite conclusion, concerned by what he saw as worsening macroeconomic backdrop. His concern proved prescient. In a matter of days, the dot-com bubble had begun to burst, sending many of the era's buzziest names toward painful deaths. By pushing to get the deal across the line, Thiel had saved PayPal from a similar fate. I give credit to Peter. He had made the macro call and said, we have to close this because the end is near. It wasn't enough that his shrewd macro reading had saved the company, though. Thiel, a hedge fund investor by disposition, saw an opportunity to turn a profit. At a meeting with PayPal's investors in the middle of 2000, Thiel made his modest proposal. If the markets were poised to drop further, as he believed they were, why not short them? All PayPal needed was to transfer its new $100 million war chest to Thiel Capital International, and he could take care of the rest. So this is like it's a well-known story about the history of Silicon Valley, venture capital, but this is the first instance where Peter Thiel wants to short the market. So of course he wanted to take the money from the company and just short it, but you can't do that because he didn't own the company. It wasn't his, and it didn't happen. But he was correct that the market was going down. So that's 1999. So then in 2008, things had changed. They had sold PayPal. I mean, not sold. They had a IPO'd PayPal, and then he starts a hedge fund called Clarium Capital. Okay, here it is, Clarium. Okay, so do you have a history of Peter Thiel wanting to bet on the crashing or different crashes? So he starts a hedge fund called Clarium Capital, and they lost a lot because, let me read this to you. So this is from 2001. Okay, this is news from Bloomberg. Clarium hedge fund shrinks 90% as Thiel has third losing year. Peter Thiel got rich investing PayPal and Facebook before most people knew them, built a hedge fund that at its apex managed 7.2 billion, and forecast the collapse of the US housing markets. He also lost almost 2/3 of his clients' money. Okay, so Clarion Capital Management fell about 23% in 2010, a third straight year of declines, according to investors. His fund's assets are down about 90%, and clients who stuck with him suffered losses of 65% from the mid-2008 peak. Okay. And here's this is a correct point. It doesn't matter if a manager is correct in his long-term views if they don't get the timing right or manage volatility along the way. Here it is. While Thiel's views, including predictions that the US would face the threat of deflation and that the dollar and oil would rise, mostly came true, The losses reflect poor market timing and lack of risk controls, according to several current and former clients. So, okay, so this is so you see, he bet he wasn't able to bet to use 100 million to short the market, but he's kept at it. 2008, he lost all the money because, of course, it doesn't matter that you think the housing market is going to crash. You have to have the right securities. You have to know the different instruments that you need to short when and how, right, in order to actually make money. He didn't know that. So he really messed up. I'm upset because, of course, the market was bad. But the point is, if you're really a brilliant, visionary money manager, you would know that. But he's not. But this is like look at how long. Then we could go to 2025, and we have Peter Thiel now at the helm, at the high seat of power. He has JD Vance over there, and he puts a lot of these bros like Palantir, his company has a lot of money in contracts with the government. Then we're seeing all these movements. I do think that Peter Thiel is involved in all this crypto crap. Honestly, it's a long story to talk about it, but he is interested in game theory, and game theory is a lot about behavior economics, which is about manipulating people and the human response to economics, or how human behavior and human responses affect economic outcomes. Okay, and you could say use that in the stock market. But the point, so does it make sense? I want to show you how there's a whole history of decades of him wanting this. And here we are. And I see people that are connected to him that I'm researching, right? That they're pushing these pump and dump companies. Peter Thiel is also one of the people that is really pushing for the bubble, for the AI bubble. Okay, he's pushing a lot of these people are manipulating psychologically, like doing psyops about this and getting like the younger guys to buy into all of this, the retail investors. His company is a meme stock. Palantir is a meme stock. So it's like he knows that this thing is going to crash, and they're trying to make as much money as possible before the thing crashes. That's what I'm picking up, not even psychically. I mean, maybe a little bit psychically, but with the receipts that I'm gathering, right? So again, I'm giving you all of this. It may be a little bit unusual, but it's relevant because I want to know now that we can ask, knowing what we know, what Peter Thiel's role in the economy is. So the question is really, what is Peter Thiel's role in the economy right now? Is he working behind the scenes to crash the economy slash stock markets? And will he succeed? I don't think he will, but I need to ask the questions, right? So is Peter Thiel working? What is his role in the economy right now? Behind the scenes to crash the economy stock market. Say I say yes, we want people to they have to get into these cryptocurrencies so we can get enough volume and then short, right? And it's essentially short means you bet that the price is going to go down. And when it does, you take all the money. And all these people that had the money had the like they lose everything, and he takes up everything. Yes. And I see that he thinks that he's still going to maintain a certain level of control because of Palantir and the surveillance economy that he's involved in. What is he trying to do? That's right. Push this AI bubble until the unsustainable point. Then everything crashes and we win because we will have taken the money from all these people that bet on it. And then there will be no justice, and we'll just be able to get away with everything and create a new Middle Ages like environment. Okay, so what could go wrong, Peter Thiel? Do you think of what could go wrong? No, Rosie, I look at the Third Reich and I look at all the destruction, and that's what I want. I want people to be afraid of me. I want them to think twice because you can't have a culture that goes forward. Sometimes things go backwards, and people have hopes, but there's a time when there's no hope left. So, so is he going to get this crash to happen? It's interesting as when I ask this, and then, okay, will he succeed, right? So when I ask, will he succeed? I see that he's trying to get a leveler like thing to like bring it down, and then oh, sorry, he's grabbed. Like, whoop, don't grab my eye, but he's grabbed. And I see the people that will stop him are some of these very famous Wall Street people, like Ken Griffin of Citadel, really famous hedge fund, and also Jamie Dimon. And now I know people are going to be like, "Where is he put Jamie Dimon?" And they allowed Chase Manhattan or whatever let Epstein. I I understand that a lot of banks allowed some of this stuff to happen, but that still doesn't mean that they are not great banks. I have my money in Chase and I trust it 100%. Okay, I really do. I know they have to change a lot of things, but still, I trust Jamie. I do trust Jamie Dimon out of all the banks. Okay, so so um so having said that about Jamie Dimon, I think also, like I said, Ken Griffin, a lot of those very really serious, well, long-term Wall Street people are not going to be okay with that because they don't fundamentally don't trust the tech bros, and they know that they have been pumping this fake AI bubble and that this is going to collapse. So I feel like they start to move in to make, I see they start to limit. I don't know what, guys, I don't know the details or how, but it's not going to work. Their their attempts are just not going to work. And I think they will, this is will be one of the things that will lead to their demise. Because I don't think that they are going to benefit some of their fellow, billionaires or whatever, or all these other institutions, or all these like regular companies that are not fake and they're not like this pseudo tech companies or pseudo AI. Okay. So does it make sense? It's really that's what I see. I don't think it's going to be in the scale of the 2008 crisis. I don't think it's going to be in the scale um of something of that magnitude. It's probably going to be like the dot-com bubble, something like that. Okay. Okay. Now, so does it make sense? That's what I think. And this will finally unmask this whole conversation of AI, of AI and I put it aside, the whole tech bro thing, right? Like, oh, there's a way they're treated with the kid gloves, and this is the time when the kid gloves are going to go be removed finally, and society will finally um, make them be held accountable. They will be held accountable for their attempts to destroy the country and their shady connections to Russia and all of it. So we're getting close to this, right? So, but I'm explaining to you just so you understand now. Okay. So now let's go. I want to show you something else that it's again, I know that some of you may not be interested in this, but I think it's important to understand. Now, oh no. Hold on. This is not the one. Is it? Oh, that's right, because I signed in. Okay. All right. Okay. So there's something going on in the okay. So let me show you this. This is a from Barron's. It's a chart that a lot of people, like I said, this is not a it's everybody's talking about this. Okay, so Nvidia, Microsoft, and OpenAI. The chart captures AI circular financing. So this is what's happening is that these companies are all investing in each other and lending. I don't know if they're lending money, but they're like they become customers, but then you invest in somebody who's going to be your customer, and then it creates a certain circular accounting essentially. Like you create a company that will become your customer, and then the customer buys from you, and then it's known to be a classic sign of a bubble. Okay, there's all these data centers that they're trying to build, and it's all to me a lot of it is BS, to be honest with you. The way that the accounting is quasi fraudulent. Okay, we don't know. There's essentially misrepresenting. They're misrepre They're misrepresenting what's really going on. Okay. So, so this is what's happening. And just to tell you, the closest parallel is the dot-com bubble. Okay, wait. So, okay. So, this happened. Like a lot of people are also talking about the similarities between this and AOL. That when AOL, remember when I think we're all old enough to remember when the internet first started at scale, you got AOL and it said, you got mail, right? You got mail. And so AOL had a really high, like the stock was valued a lot, but Time Warner was a much more valuable company in terms of revenues. But AOL invested in Time Warner and there was a merger. And Time Warner were basically destroyed by this because soon after the dot-com bubble collapsed and it was a mess. Okay. It was a mess. So, this is where we are. We are really seeing this, like we're very close to this popping of a bubble, popping of the Trump, uh, what you call it, the whole pump and dump, Trump pump and dump double. Oh my God, no, bubble. What's happening? I want to show you yet another sign. This is so creepy. And we haven't even started talking about all the scams that he's involved in. My God, it's all every single day. Now, just to show you a sign of how bad the things are. Uh, okay. So now they're pushing this narrative. This is gross, right? But it is what it is. Barron Trump being eyed for top role at TikTok as dead cements US ownership of the platform. So they want to appoint Barron to the board of TikTok. Can you imagine? So, and I think it's so funny because the tech bros is like, oh, I went to Stanford, I did this and that. I was like, I was a kid and I silly got somewhere. And Trump was like, oh, really? Hold my beer. So instead of the kid having to go to some school, do have some ability at least, no, all he has to do is be the son of Trump. And so, okay, look at this. So now this is really awful. I'm hopeful President Trump will consider appointing his son Barron and maybe other young Americans to TikTok's board to help ensure it remains an app young people want to keep using. Now, I mean, to be appointed to a board of a company, it's a big deal. You can have a lot of power in dictating, you can make a lot of decisions when you're in the board, and the board can change the CEO. They can do a lot to a company. They can shape the company in a lot of ways that can be dangerous. I know because I stopped the board coup. So long story, but really, right? It's very serious. So this is the level of corruption that we are, and it's so telling that this is happening in the stock market, right? Something that they took the TikTok thing, the fake deal that they made, and here we are. So what is going to happen with Barron and TikTok? Is it so? I see that Trump is writing something and almost like a letter to congratulate Barron before it comes out. And then I see a huge explosion, like not a literal explosion. And Trump goes down and they all do. And the whole TikTok deal, which to me sounds extremely corrupt anyway, it collapses and everything is reverted back to what it was. So do I see? So it may be, but it can't. It's saying no. I think the whole thing is going to collapse before this goes along because the whole it's saying the amount of corruption that we have. And it's saying Trump is getting sicker and sicker. And and that's the story. So what is the bottom line here? Um, the bottom line is we're getting closer to an end of this. We're going to the maximum, the farthest it has to go in order for things to collapse and to be rebuilt. By the way, I'm going to talk about this more in a little bit, but in the next video about um, Edgar Case. Edgar Case was a very famous medium, visionary person, and there have been all these videos. I try to look for confirmation from a text, but I can't quite find it. But I sent Karina this video, and it's really incredible. It's one that talks about how the stuff he saw about this divisive person coming to power and then not being able to complete his term, and then a woman coming to take his place. So it was very interesting because in this video, like they talk about how Edgar Cayce saw that there would be some sort of collapse, that things would have to be rebuilt after this man, but that things would be rebuilt for the better. Okay. So, so anyway, so just think it's all very interesting. I know this is not the usual type of video that I do because I'm getting into a lot of details. But I think you should know about this because this will soon come into, if you haven't read about this a lot, it's going to come soon, I think. And also, I wanted to say this too. Um, okay. When I was talking to Karina, I also saw that there would be these 6 weeks of transition. By transition, I do think it's actually related to this quasi collapse in the stock market, but it will be, does it make sense? There will be like, it's funny, I got the word in Portuguese, susto. Susto means scare, frightened, like frightened or scared or something. Scared, not in the fear, but kind of like, what? People, it's like it's scary, this thing that happens, but then it goes back into something more normal. But there's so much instability, right, that this guy is creating. I feel like honestly, this November will be um, an intense month from now until I'd say even the 20th of November or so, because I tell you guys about, my trip that I have to go eventually to Brazil to my parents. But I'm starting to see that towards Thanksgiving, I will probably go. But not before because there will be just too much volatility and instability until then. Okay. So thank you for watching. I know this is probably a hard video for a lot of people because it's so detailed. And they will, like, we have to see, the bottom line is this, we have to see how far this man has gone, and America and the world has to see it so that it will never happen again. But their big goal is financial destruction, right? They want to destroy us. They want to destroy the world. They want to make everybody poor. But the thing is, they will not succeed ultimately. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about before it happens. I probably will not make a video like this again because I just wanted to really talk in depth about the financial markets before it happens. Okay. But it will be okay. It will not be like the 2008 financial crisis. Don't get too scared, but I just wanted to tell you all of this. Okay. All right. So thanks for watching. I'll be back soon. And like I said, I'm going to plan now doing videos. Has become, I realize, a long video by now, but I'm going to make one topic per video, sometimes 10 minutes or so, because it's easier to flow, right? Than me having to struggle with what do I cover, this or that, right? Just doing things as I go along. So tomorrow I may do 2 or 3 videos even. So, okay. All right. So thanks for watching. Okay. Bye.